The creative juices are flowing at LHWH. We're here to talk about the Silver Reed Gallery, coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at LHWH Advertising and PR in Myrtle Beach. We're focused on the Silver Reed Art Gallery, which successfully launched here at the agency last April. And we're visiting with Ron Carter, one of the artists in the gallery and a graphic artist here at LHWH. Good morning, Ron. Thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Glad to be here.
Incredible opportunity all week to highlight the gallery, to highlight the agency, obviously to highlight much of what's happening within the back area of this building.
Yeah.
And as we think about so much going on, we sure want to have the opportunity to spotlight one of the artists each day. So thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Can we talk about yourself? Are you originally from the area?
No, originally I'm from southern Virginia, just outside Richmond. And we've been here for about 16 years now, 16, 17 years. We moved down from D.C., from the D.C. area, and took up residence in Surfside Beach.
Oh, great. What brought you to Myrtle Beach?
Well, my father-in-law had moved down, I think in like 83, something like that, and he kept telling us, you know, oh, you got to come down and visit. You'll love South Carolina. You'll love Myrtle Beach. And at that point in time, I was like, well, why would anybody want to go to South Carolina, much less live there?
Right.
And so finally, after much asking, we moved down. Actually, we came to visit for a weekend, then came back for another week, and then pretty soon we started to think, oh, this might be kind of a nice place to live. And so then in '86 we jumped off the cliff and moved down.
Great. And Ron, you said you have family
wife,
here in the area,
yes,
right?
My wife and my father-in-law lives down in Pawleys Island.
That's great. Where did you do your studies? And was your major in graphic design or graphic as a non-artist? I'm not sure if I know the correct speak. Where did you do your studies?
I studied at James Madison University in Harrisonburg, Virginia, and no, this was not like commercial application was not my major. I was a fine arts major, and as I recall, I was walking to commencement exercises, and suddenly, reality hit with a cold, hard thud, and I realized I had no way to make a living, and I didn't have the luxury of retiring to a garret and painting and creating days. So I thought, well, I have to set about some way to make some money and support myself, and so that's when I wound up taking up commercial art and sort of learned it and developed my skills and on the job.
You did that straight at, essentially, obviously after walking off the dais there, you went into commercial art right out of school.
Yeah.
Where were you working?
I started, my first job was in a small design studio in Alexandria, Virginia, in the suburbs of Washington. And luckily they were willing to take a flyer on a fine artist who really didn't know too much about in any sort of commercial art, and I seemed to take to it. So
that's wonderful.
So it's worked out.
And you found a market for your talent here on the Strand.
Yeah. I mean, when first came down, it was not easy, but slowly I started to find places where I could, my designs was an illustration. I did a lot of illustration, and I was freelancing when I first moved down here, and started to do some work with some smaller agencies down on the South Strand. But there were people who were willing to pay me for to do my work. So.
Can you talk to the viewers a little bit about some of the work you've done and even some of the awards you've received either before arriving at LHWH or since you've been here? Would you feel comfortable about that?
Yeah, yeah. Like I say, I was self-employed for about 8 years when I first moved here, and I was fortunate enough to hook up with a copywriter from who had moved down from Toronto, and together we sort of teamed up. He was a copywriter, and he handled the words, I handled the visuals,
right.
And we won a few Addies early on, and then we parted company, and I was working with a small agency down in Murrells Inlet, and was able to win like a best of print in the local Addie competition,
right.
And we won some national awards for cable television, and sorted Pike Awards, things of that nature. I realized long about 1993 that I was doing things the old-fashioned way in computers and digital pre-press, and that was the wave of the future. Actually, probably was the wave of the present at that time, and I needed to come in out of the cold, and so I took a job at the Sun News as in their marketing department as a designer, and so that I could develop my my computer skills, and I won a best of print, and,
right.
and some South Carolina Press Association awards, and then I came here, and since I've been here, I've won a best of show, best of print.
Get down, right?
And my prize was the Golden Trash Can Award just a couple weeks ago.
The Golden Trash Can Award.
Golden Trash Can Award.
Wow.
for the best trash, for the concept that the client didn't buy. So now I consider that my triple crown, and I'm ready to retire.
Well, let's hope you don't retire too soon. Obviously, all week we've been highlighting the Silver Reed Art Gallery, so I want to get to that. We're about halfway through. Can you talk about what the formation of the gallery has meant to you as a creative person?
To me, it has, and as a former fine artist, it's sort of like issued a challenge. It's given me impetus to get back to creating. So I've sort of I abandoned that fine arts when I started to when I went into commercial art, and because that creative urge was satisfied, and through my work, and I really didn't draw any distinction between what you were creating. It satisfied that drive. What this means is now it's like sort of it's put me in a position where I've got to like go back and address that, because I haven't really done much fine art in the last, we won't say how many years, but now I have that opportunity. The gauntlet has been thrown. I have picked it up, and so it means that I'm going to get back in touch with that.
And allowing your peers to see your work on a regular basis, I mean, over a month's time, as well as clients who come through the agency or other folks who are within the agency or even on the Sherry side cruising through. I mean, that's probably a great motivation.
Yeah. I mean, you want to put at least the best foot you have forward, and this was sort of like letting people take a peek at another side of you, and that's always interesting.
When someone's work is exhibited in the gallery, have you been able to glean something about them that you may not have known from seeing assignments they've done?
Yeah, I don't know that I could actually put it into any terms what that is, but yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see that there is a complete. It sort of rounds out that person, having the idea that, especially when you're working with people in a business like this, they're not always artists. They're not always like fine artists. And to my surprise, nobody much ever really talked about it here, but to much everybody here is, and that was exciting to find out that everybody had this like fine art thing pushed off in a closet. They're like closet fine artists, and it's kind of a wonder. We really didn't discover that about each other before. So,
well, that's worth the entire thing, though. That's worth the entire gallery. Has the gallery's had a real positive impact on the relationship between the folks in the graphic arts group?
Yeah, I think so. I think some people have brought in work that they've done many years ago, and now in more recent stuff. So you get to see sort of their development as an artist, and it's also interesting to see that in relation to the design work that they do here for clients.
Yeah. Does Ron Carter have a favorite medium or subject?
In my early days, I loved to work in oils, do paintings. And I always tended to do like more representational, figurative sort of work. And I really enjoyed doing things in, I guess, like sort of strange juxtapositions, things you wouldn't necessarily see together, things that couldn't possibly physically happen, almost like a more surreal feeling to my work. Now I'm not real sure where I'm at. I'm going to find out. I'm in the process of developing things for my turn at the exposing myself on the walls of Silver Reed.
Yeah.
But I feel like now I want to move more towards maybe some dimensional work and less figurative, representational, more maybe topical. Actually say something. Because it'll be up to everybody to figure out what that is.
Right. If you won the Golden Trash Can Award, then you sure as heck can probably do a heck of a lot of topical stuff. What about displaying your work in a gallery other than the Silver Reed Gallery here at the agency?
I'm not really displayed in a gallery very much. For a few months, I was showing down in artworks down in Litchfield Exchange, Linda Ketron's gallery for just a few months, and a few of the like special shows she had down there. Exhibited with my wife, who's also an artist.
Great.
And but that's my sole gallery exposure.
Do you have a project in mind for the Silver Reed Art Gallery?
One is starting to form. One is starting to form. I'm thinking that is going to be. I think it's going to crystallize here in the next few weeks. I was off in one direction. I'm moving back. I'm not going to say exactly what that is. Yeah.
Catching on film, you don't want to. That's right. That's right. Lastly, Ron, what do you like best about your position as a graphic artist here at LHWH?
I like the fact that it allows me to create, basically, and it's nice to have a purpose for for the creation, and that hopefully serving someone's purposes, clients' needs, and that they're realizing some results from the fruits of my labor, and that's a nice thing. It's like you feel like you're helping somebody else, or hope I'm helping somebody else. So
we're visiting with a man who loves to create and on a daily basis hopes he's helping someone. One of the artists here in the Silver Reed Art Gallery, Ron Carter. Thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you, Greg.
Absolutely. Stay tuned to more Carolina People coming up next. Good morning. Welcome back to Carolina People. This morning we're at LHWH, Advertising and PR in Myrtle Beach. We're focused on the Silver Reed Art Gallery, which launched successfully here last April. And we're visiting with Randy Gerber, one of the account executives here at LHWH. Good morning, Randy. Thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Good to be here.
Incredible opportunity all week to highlight the Silver Reed Gallery, to highlight LHWH, Advertising and PR, to highlight some of the account executives and partners, as well as the PR director here at the agency. Truly a treat. And thanks so much for giving us the time to highlight you. Can we talk real quick about yourself?
Yes.
What was your first childhood job, Randy?
Well, I often say that if you look at my resume, what it does is reflect a long and checkered career. One which started when I was 15 as a rock and roll disc jockey.
Ooh.
I was still in high school, couldn't drive. I had the sign-on shift on Saturday and Sunday morning, so literally for the first 2 months that I had the job, my parents had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and drive me to work. I was probably the only teenager in Ohio whose parents were glad he got his driver's license.
And where were you living in Ohio?
I was in northeastern Ohio, a very small town called Baltic in Amish country.
Uh-huh. Were your parents supportive of this position, Randy?
Absolutely. I mean, they were very supportive from day one. My mother had a little ham in her and liked theater, so I think the fact that I wanted to get into broadcasting appealed to her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How long did you end up having that job, and was it difficult to hold that as well as go to school?
Not really. I had that job until I graduated from high school and actually worked at it part-time while I was in college. Mm-hmm. I don't think it hurt me in high school because I graduated valedictorian in my class.
Ooh, yeah.
A small class.
Right.
And I kept working there part-time in college. Graduated from college with a degree in telecommunications and journalism. And then went into television news as a reporter, an anchorman, news director at a couple of TV stations for a few years.
Is that right? Let's talk about that. Where were some of the stations you visited after graduation?
They were stations, again, in the northeastern Ohio area, one in Canton, Ohio, and another one in Youngstown, Ohio. It was very, very good experience to learn how to write and synthesize the key facts to tell a story. But I found after a while that I got tired being a news director because I was spending too much time in meetings. Mm-hmm. So I went into public TV and became a public television producer. And really loved that. That was just wonderful because I got to do documentaries and programs with people like Carol Channing and Broadway producer Jerry Herman, polio vaccine researcher Jonas Salk, playwright Edward Albee, interviewed Hank Aaron. So that was I had just a lot of fun doing that.
Golly, Randy, can you share with the viewers some of the special memories you have from some of those amazing interviews?
Two in particular. One was the playwright. He came in and his nature, if you've ever seen him in other interviews, is that he's very, very gruff. Mm-hmm. Not an easy interview, but I had a friend of mine who was very informed on his works, and she said, ask him about this and ask him about this to show that you know in detail his works. And as soon as I kind of did that, he kind of warmed up and the interview went fine.
Yes.
Probably the other most interesting thing in public television was I was directing a symphony broadcast one night. Pianist was doing a solo, Rhapsody in Blue. I was in the control room, had the score reader beside me, and the portion of that piece comes where the pianist kind of has his solo. And it's a reasonably long solo. But all of a sudden, the score reader leans over to me and says, I can't find what he's playing. I think he's lost. And, of course, I had a camera on him that was a close-up, so I saw his face better than anybody in the house, and you could see the kind of flop sweat start to fall, and eventually the conductor turned to him and mouthed, measure 43. And the guy goes, oh, yeah, and he picked up his pace again. So that was, and luckily we had taped the dress rehearsal, so we ended up editing part of the dress rehearsal to the performance to get the finished tape.
Oh, my God.
But it's a little scary when you're sitting there and the guy's lost and he's in his solo portion.
That must have been amazing. What about leaving the television broadcasting field, going into, there must be a slew of resume, I mean, on your resume or on your bio, there must be a slew of different positions you've had prior to arriving here.
Yeah, it looks like I can't hold a job. After public TV, I opened my own production and marketing firm in Ohio, did a lot of political consulting as well as work for corporations like US Air and General Motors and Frito-Lay in Dallas. In the mid-'80s, I then moved to Philadelphia, where my wife was in medical school. And in Philadelphia, I joined Cigna, which is one of the largest healthcare companies in the country, and essentially became their staff political consultant. And I lived in Philadelphia, but took the Amtrak Metroliner a couple days a week down to Washington to work on national health policy.
Is that right? What was that like?
That was pretty amazing. I mean, you've heard of all these things about Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton and all of the political consultants, and all of a sudden you're sitting in a room with them, and it's pretty amazing. I often thought, though, that there are some rooms in Washington that just aren't big enough to hold the egos involved, and it's a wonderful place to visit, but I'm not sure I'd want to live there.
Yeah, that must be difficult, Randy.
It is.
It was probably pretty cleansing to get on the train back to Philadelphia on a regular basis.
It was like going through a depressurization.
Yeah,
when you got back home and said, "Oh, thank goodness I'm here now."
I'm sure. And your wife was she finished med school there, or residency was there in Philadelphia.
And in the mid-'90s, she was then a practicing obstetrician gynecologist.
Great.
And we kind of looked at each other one day and said, we got to get off the fast track. And so we started to look around the country at where we might want to live. And it took us a couple of years, but we finally decided that in this general area, and my wife got a job offer from Carolina OBGYN down in Murrells Inlet. We flew down from Philadelphia, hadn't really ever been to the area before. She had her interview. We're driving back to the airport. I had some time to walk on the beach and check out the golf courses. And I turned to her and I said, you better like this because I want to live here. And so we are.
That's fantastic. And she stayed on with Carolina OBGYN?
Yep.
That's great.
She's a partner in the practice now and is very successful and very happy.
When you came on at LHWH, or after you arrived in town, how long was it before you came to LHWH?
Not very long, really, because as soon as her job was solidified, I started looking around at what I wanted to do. And given my long and checkered career, I had a lot of options and directions I could go. But I decided I wanted to be in marketing and advertising. So I talked to most of the major organizations in town that do that. But I was particularly struck by LHWH and kind of the artistic creativity that just seems to bubble up around here. I remember the first time I was in the building, they were giving me a tour, and I walked into the office of Associate Creative Director Marty Harden. I was very taken by a picture that was on his wall. And there was just something about that picture that I really, really liked. So when I finally made my decision that I wanted to work here, I bought that picture from Marty, and it now hangs in my office.
Oh, God, that's great. That's the picture that's behind you now.
That's right.
That's great. That's a great... That's amazing. Well, almost a magnetic force of pulling you into the agency after seeing that. You had to find some way to get it.
Yeah, it was kind of like, if this is the kind of artistic creativity and energy they have here, I think I like it here.
And that obviously ties into what we've been focused on much of this week, the artistic creative energy recognized in the back area of the building, which has been a lot to the whole agency, the Silver Reed Art Gallery.
Absolutely.
Can you talk about some other instances of that creativity throughout the agency that's benefited you in your relationship with clients here in the areas and abroad?
The amazing thing about the Silver Reed effort is that it shows that there is so much creative energy among our people that they can't confine it to a 9-to-5 day. And that is very comforting to me as an account executive who goes out and meets with clients, that I am confident when I meet with a client that we have all of this energy, so much that our people don't just sit focused at their computer, but they go home and create as well, that I know there's a depth of talent and resources here that we can always deliver.
Yes, Randy. And there's some other programs that you've been involved in organizing within the agency. Can you talk about some of those and how those have impacted?
Sure. We've started to grow in the years since I've been here. We've grown in size. We have more people. We've grown in different kinds of expertise. We now have interactive websites and CD-ROMs. We've grown geographically. We're now looking at clients outside the area. And it's to the point where we wanted to start to give the people in the agency the broader picture of what all different things we're doing. We know everybody every day is kind of focused on your computer. What's due today? What do I have to get done today? But now, every month or every other month, depending upon the flow of business, we get the whole staff together off-site for a luncheon, and we make presentations. Here's a campaign we did for a client recently so that the people who bought the media and the people who did the artwork all see how all the pieces fit together. Or we talk about a new client and the kind of work we're going to do for them. Or we talk about a creative conference that we maybe came back from and the kinds of ideas that were mentioned there. So each of us who is tied daily to his computer now gets a picture of where we fit in the overall scheme of things.
Wonderful idea.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Plus it's a free lunch.
Who's picking up the tab? That's right.
The boss.
There we go. So it's free to most all. That's right.
If Randy Gerber wasn't currently at LHWH, what do you think he'd be doing?
I have no idea. There are two career paths that I've toyed with and never traveled down. One of them, people might look at me and say, we could imagine that, which would be, I'd like to write novels, okay? And the other one, people would look at me and shake their head, and that is, I'd like to be a stand-up comedian.
Ah, yeah. You thought about that.
I thought about that.
Wow. Well, did you think about it at age 15 when you were holding that position as a disc jockey?
I actually went into radio because I loved the people who were on radio at that time. In the late 60s, it was a much looser format. You could be very humorous and not the dirty humor sometimes you have today. But unfortunately, as soon as I went into it, kind of format radio came in, and you could give the time and temperature, and that's what kind of discouraged me from staying in radio. And how that led to the serious nature of TV news, I will never know.
From being a DJ to TV news, to taking the train from Philly down to D.C. and back, to now serving here at LHWH and possibly even dreaming of being a stand-up comedian. Randy Gerber, thanks so much for being with us this morning. Creative juices are flowing at LHWH. We'll be right back with more Carolina People. We want to thank LHWH Advertising and PR for helping make the Silver Reed Gallery and today's Carolina People such a great success.